On the morning of December 26, 2025, while most Americans were still unwrapping Christmas presents, Elon Musk fired off 3 sentences that would move markets across 4 continents. "This is not good," he wrote. "Silver is needed in many industrial processes." The tweet appeared at 7:42 Pacific Time. In response to breaking news from Beijing, China would impose export restrictions on silver starting January 1st, 2026. Wall Street barely blinked. Silver had been climbing all year, from $29 per ounce in January to $72 by late December, a 148% surge that most analysts dismissed as speculative froth. JP Morgan's commodity desk called it overbought. Goldman Sachs predicted a correction back to the 40s. They were all looking at the wrong number. What Musk saw, what the paper traders missed, was buried in an obscure Ministry of Commerce filing. Starting January 1st, Chinese silver exporters would need government licenses. Only companies producing 80-plus tons annually with $30 million in credit lines would qualify. This wasn't a tariff. It was a choke point. China controls 60 to 70% of global silver refining capacity, not just mining. Mexican ore, Peruvian concentrates, Australian bars, they all flow through Chinese refineries before reaching Western markets. Every Tesla Model 3 requires 25 to 50 grams of silver. Tesla's 2025 production target, 2 million vehicles. That's 50 to 100 tons of silver just for one company. And Tesla is competing with solar panel manufacturers who consumed 6,577 tons in 2024 in the entire global electronics industry. 4 days into December, something unprecedented happened at the COMEX vaults in New York. Traders demanded physical delivery of 47.6 million ounces, 60% of all registered silver inventory, in just 4 days. The paper market was breaking. Musk wasn't tweeting about silver prices. He was tweeting about supply chains. The market didn't price in a shortage. It priced in abundance that no longer exists. The disconnect between what the market believed and what was actually happening became impossible to ignore by the final week of December. While analysts at Goldman Sachs were publishing notes predicting a correction back to the 40s, the actual mechanics of the silver market were coming apart at the seams. Here's what they missed. The price wasn't being driven by speculation. It was being driven by something far more dangerous, industrial panic masked as a rally. Let's start with the numbers that should have terrified every commodity desk on Wall Street. Global silver demand in 2024 hit 1.24 billion ounces. Global silver supply in 2024 reached 1.01 billion ounces. The deficit, 230 million ounces, equivalent to wiping out 3 months of global mine production. But this wasn't year 1 of the crisis. According to the Silver Institute's World Silver Survey 2025, this marked the 5th consecutive year of structural deficit. The cumulative shortfall from 2021 through 2025, 796 million ounces, nearly 1 full year of global mine supply simply gone, consumed, unrecoverable. Now here's where Musk's warning starts to make sense. That Ministry of Commerce filing from Beijing wasn't just bureaucratic paperwork. It was a declaration of resource nationalism. Starting January 1st, Chinese silver exporters would need licenses, and the eligibility requirements were designed to exclude everyone except state-certified firms. 80-plus tons of annual production, $30 million in credit lines. The result, only 44 approved firms would be allowed to export silver from China for 2026 through 2027. This matters because China doesn't just mine silver, they refine it. 60 to 70% of global silver refining capacity flows through Chinese facilities. Mexican ore gets shipped to China. Peruvian concentrates get processed in China. Australian ore bars get refined in China. Beijing wasn't restricting Chinese silver. They were restricting the entire global supply chain. The Shanghai Premium told you everything you needed to know about what was coming. By late December, Shanghai silver futures were trading at $85 per ounce, a $5 premium over New York spot prices. In commodity markets, that spread signals one thing: physical shortage. Chinese industrial buyers were panic bidding to lock in supply before the export restrictions took effect. In October 2025, China exported a record 660 tons of silver as companies front-ran the restrictions. But as of January 1st, 2026, that spigot would shut off completely. Western refineries that relied on Chinese door imports would be scrambling for alternative sources that couldn't scale fast enough. Peru, Mexico, Australia, they can't replace 60 to 70% of global refining capacity overnight. They can't replace it in a year. The supply chain Musk was warning about had already snapped. The market just hadn't noticed yet. Let's talk about why Musk actually cares about silver, because it's not what most people think. Silver isn't in Tesla batteries because Elon likes shiny metal or because it makes good jewelry. It's there because of physics, specifically electrical conductivity. At 63.01 times 10 to the sixth Siemens per meter at 20 degrees Celsius, silver is the most electrically conductive element on Earth. Copper is cheaper, sure, but it can't handle what modern electric vehicles demand. Inside every Tesla, you'll find silver in the battery management system, 2 to 5 grams in printed circuit boards monitoring 4680 cells. You'll find it in high voltage contactors, silver-plated contacts managing 200 to 600 volts and 300 to 600 amps. You'll find it in charging port connectors where silver prevents arc damage during 250 kilowatt supercharger sessions. Total per vehicle, 25 to 50 grams, 0.8 to 1.6 ounces according to the Silver Institute's Automotive Demand Report. That's double what a traditional gas car uses. Now scale that. The Silver Institute's 2021 forecast projected the automotive sector would consume 90 million ounces by 2025. They hit it. With 17 million electric vehicles projected to be sold globally in 2025, and adoption accelerating at a 13% compound annual growth rate through 2031, this number only grows. But it's not just Tesla. BYD in China, Volkswagen in Germany, Hyundai in Korea, they're all building the same silver-intensive architectures. And unlike batteries, where you can swap lithium for sodium in some applications, there is no substitute for silver in high-voltage switching. You need a material that won't arc, won't oxidize, and can handle hundreds of amps of current repeatedly without degrading. That material is silver. Here's where it gets expensive. BMW and Tesla patent filings from 2022 through 2024 show explicit efforts to reduce silver use through distributed contact designs and hybrid alloys. Why would they bother engineering around a material if cost wasn't a problem? Because even at $30 per ounce, silver was becoming a cost issue in their bill of materials. At $72 per ounce, it's an existential threat to electric vehicle economics. Every dollar increase in silver prices adds roughly $2 to $4 to the cost of manufacturing a single vehicle when you account for the silver in contactors, circuit boards, and connectors. Multiply that across 2 million units, and you're looking at hundreds of millions in additional costs that can't be passed to consumers in a price-competitive market. Musk wasn't tweeting a market opinion. He was tweeting a production constraint that threatens the entire electric vehicle transition. If electric vehicles are a problem for silver supply, solar panels are a crisis. Every solar panel depends on a silver paste screen printed onto silicon wafers to conduct electricity. The silver forms a microscopic grid so thin you can barely see it that captures photons and channels current. No other metal works at scale. Copper oxidizes when exposed to air and sunlight. Aluminum lacks the conductivity needed for efficient energy capture. Silver's reflectivity, 97% for visible light, combined with its conductivity, makes it irreplaceable in photovoltaic cells. Average silver content per panel, 15 to 20 grams, 0.5 to 0.7 ounces according to the Silver Institute. That sounds small until you understand the scale of what's being built. In 2024, global solar manufacturing capacity hit 675 gigawatts. At roughly 10 tons of silver per gigawatt of capacity, that's 6,577 tons consumed, confirmed by both Chinese manufacturing data and the Silver Institute's 2024 survey. Silver demand from photovoltaics accounted for 19% of total global silver supply in 2024. Now look forward. The International Energy Agency projects global renewable capacity will increase by 4,600 gigawatts by 2030, with solar accounting for 80% of that growth. If solar installations reach 1,000 to 1,300 gigawatts annually by 2030, silver demand could hit 10,000 to 14,000 tons per year, representing 29 to 41% of total global supply, according to research published in Science Direct in August 2025. Here's where the situation becomes impossible. Newer high-efficiency panels use more silver, not less. TOPCon cells use 1.5 times the silver of older PERC designs. Heterojunction cells use twice as much. Why? Because they coat both sides of the wafer with silver paste for higher efficiency and better performance in low-light conditions. So the industry is trapped in a terrible bind. To meet climate goals, solar installations must accelerate. To achieve higher efficiency and offset manufacturing costs, companies are adopting silver-intensive designs that use double the metal per panel. And global mine production, according to the Silver Institute, it grew just 0.9% in 2024 to 819.7 million ounces. You're looking at demand growth of 30 to 40% annually in the solar sector, hitting supply growth of less than 1% from mines. China announced plans to add 160 gigawatts of solar capacity in 2025 alone, according to the National Energy Administration. That's 1,600 tons of silver just for one country in 1 year. And starting January 1st, Beijing will require licenses for silver exports. Connect those dots. China is the world's largest solar manufacturer and controls 60 to 70% of silver refining. By restricting exports, they're locking silver inside China for domestic solar production, while Western manufacturers scramble for scraps. This is where most silver bulls get the story wrong. They assume higher prices will bring new mines online and fix the shortage. But silver doesn't work like gold or copper because of one fundamental constraint. 70 to 75% of silver comes as a byproduct from copper, zinc, lead, and gold mines, according to USGS data and industry reports. Only 25 to 28% comes from primary silver mines. What this means in practice is brutal. If copper prices are low, mining companies shut down copper operations, even if silver is at $100 per ounce. Silver miners can't unilaterally respond to price signals. According to Discovery Alert's November 2025 analysis, 70% being produced as a byproduct of base metal mining means production cannot quickly respond to price spikes. You're waiting for copper demand to justify opening copper mines that happen to produce silver as a side effect. Even if copper prices cooperate, you're looking at 7 to 10 years from discovery to production for a new silver mine, 2 to 3 years for exploration and resource definition, 1 to 2 years for feasibility studies and permitting, 2 to 3 years for construction, 1 year to ramp up to full production. Tony Sycamore, market analyst at IG Australia, warned in December 2025. With new mines taking up to 10 years to develop and capital being drawn into the precious metals bubble like a moth to a flame, it is impossible to say when the air might come out. The supply that would fix a 2026 shortage needs to be permitted right now. It isn't. There are no major primary silver projects in advanced development that will deliver meaningful production before 2030. Recycling can't fill the gap either. Silver recycling hit a 12-year high in 2024 at 193.9 million ounces. But that's overwhelmingly from industrial scrap like used ethylene oxide catalysts and electronics waste, plus silverware and old jewelry. You can't recycle silver out of solar panels that are still on rooftops generating electricity. The installed base won't become recyclable for 20 to 25 years when those panels reach end of life. So the silver embedded in photovoltaics is locked away for a generation. Now return to those COMEX vault drains. Registered inventory sat at roughly 73 million ounces as of early 2025. In 4 days during December, 47.6 million ounces were claimed for physical delivery. JP Morgan's registered pile, historically the gorilla of silver storage, was cut in half to 16.8 million ounces according to SD Bullion's December tracking. The paper-to-physical ratio is breaking in real time. Futures traders who've been shorting silver for years suddenly face a problem they never thought they'd encounter. What if they actually have to deliver the metal? Backwardation tells you everything you need to know about what's happening beneath the surface. Spot silver is trading above futures prices, a condition that persisted through November and December 2025. Historically, commodities trade in contango, futures higher than spot, because of storage costs and the time value of holding physical inventory. Backwardation signals physical shortage. Buyers will pay a premium for metal today rather than wait for delivery next month because they don't trust the delivery will actually happen. Silver lease rates in London spiked to 8 to 9% annualized in late December, according to multiple market reports. For context, lease rates are normally under 1%. This is the cost of borrowing physical metal from vaults. At 9%, it means there is a scramble for ounces, and the people who own them won't lend unless they're paid handsomely for the risk. David Stein saw this panic up close. Stein is the CEO of Cuya Silver Corporation, which operates the Bethania mine in Peru. On Friday, December 27, 2025, 2 Chinese companies contacted Cuya Silver directly. One was a manufacturer, the other a large trading firm. They offered $8 per ounce over market price for immediate physical delivery. On Monday, December 30th, an Indian buyer followed with a $10 per ounce premium. Stein confirmed these approaches to CNBC on December 31st. This wasn't negotiation. This was industrial buyers, bypassing exchanges entirely to secure metal directly from mines, because they couldn't trust the paper market to deliver. When you're offering $10 over spot, you're not trading. You're panic buying insurance against a supply chain collapse. Let's be clear about who gets wiped out when this breaks. Paper traders holding COMEX futures contracts expecting cash settlement are about to learn a painful lesson. When the exchange can't deliver physical metal, they force cash settlements at artificial prices. Your $72 contract settled at $68, while physical spot trades at $90. It's legal, it's in the fine print, but it's devastating if you thought you were buying actual silver. Small solar manufacturers without locked-in supply contracts will face a choice: pay spot prices that kill margins or halt production. According to industry analysis, a 50% reduction in Chinese exports could create an annual deficit exceeding 5,000 metric tons. 160 plus million ounces. Electric vehicle startups without Tesla's scale or negotiating power, they're price takers in a seller's market. Expect production delays and margin compression through 2026 as they compete for shrinking supply. On the other side, primary silver miners with no hedge books will see revenue explode. Companies like First Majestic Silver, Kura Mining, and Hecla Mining, pure play silver producers, sell every ounce they pull from the ground at spot. No ceiling, no collar, no derivative contracts capping their upside.